What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I am coming at you from the Shell in Christiana, Tennessee, I-24 exit 69. We're right across the street from WHILYV's down here. I'm picking up tomorrow in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, which is about 60 miles away. I was gonna start driving that way today, but there's really not that much parking over there. And once I start getting closer to Nashville, you start getting into them edgy truck stops, whether they're name brand truck stops or not. So I figured once I dropped off at General Mills, I would backtrack about 6 miles and come here. So as far as this title goes, it's clickbait and it's not clickbait. I did put a DOT officer to work. And, you know, I'd forgot about this for a while, but in about 2012, I had some work done in my house, and the work was getting done by a guy that was working for the Highway Patrol. He was a DOT officer, and he did not like his job. And you know what? I forgot about this until he commented on one of my Facebook posts about the new truck I got. And, so anyway, just to make a long story short, he'd probably been a DOT officer about 5 years, and he did not like that job. And I don't think it was that he just didn't like the job. I think his passion was somewhere else, and his passion was in home renovation, things like that. And when I first met him, he wasn't able to make that transition yet because he wasn't making enough money on his side hustle at the time to get out of it. And I'm proud to say maybe I was one of those clients that kind of contributed to him being able to get out of that, because now he's no longer a DOT officer. He's got his own business, and he's doing that home renovation full time. And we spoke a bit about his job while he was coming over doing his, doing the renovations I needed. And the funny thing about it was he would pull up with his little Highway Patrol truck, you know what I mean? And I'm like, man, listen, you can't just be pulling up on me like this, because people are going to be thinking something pretty soon. But, I'm trying to think back to our conversations. It was almost like he felt guilty about some of the stuff that he was having to do. And at the time, like I said, 2012, I was like not even thinking about driving trucks. These conversations were going over my head. I really wasn't too concerned about them. I was just like, just get that tile laid, knock out that shower. But I do remember him kind of speaking a little bit about his day and some of the things that he had to do that he didn't want to do. So enough about that. Really what this video is going to be about is a question and answer type situation. I went through some of my comments and wrote down some of the questions people had, so I wanted to kind of get to that. Before I get to that, let's see, where am I at now? I already said I'm in Tennessee. I got a load. If anybody watched my last video, there were several loads that I knew were possibilities out of Michigan, and I got the one I didn't really want. I got the Reed City, Michigan load down to Tennessee. And one of the reasons I didn't like that load was I wasn't really sure what I was going to get out of Tennessee. So now I'm getting a load going back up to Ohio. We're going to Aldi in Springfield, Ohio. Not sure what the weather is going to be like. Last night was a miserable drive. I stopped and took a little nap this morning and tried to wait for the sun to come up because that rain was just killing me last night. So I know the drive is going to be a wintry mix or whatever they're saying. It's one of those loads where I got to pick up tomorrow, drive, and deliver at like 0-100. So it's one of those loads. And I know it's not going to be a great drive, but it gets me kind of back where I like to be. So that's kind of what's going on now. Let's get to these questions. So, got about 6 questions that I'd like to answer real quick in this video. And some of them are a little personal. But first one is, how does my wife feel about my driving? And to be honest with you, I think that she would like it more if I weren't driving. Now, that being said, I think that she trusts me and trusts my future path and all that kind of things, setting us up financially, her financially if things happen to go wrong with me, things like that. But I also think she understands the incredible stress I was under in my previous job. And she had similar stress in her job. I mean, she just took a job working at Costco, basically taking stuff from the loading dock and stocking it, in the store. And she took a very big financial hit doing that. But it's also left her in a lot better of an emotional space. So that's kind of my reply to that. Another one from the same person: would I encourage my son to drive a truck? This actually came up because my son is becoming an electrician. And for a lot of people don't know this, but to become an electrician, it doesn't cost more than college, but it's like more work than college. And especially in Colorado, depending on the time of the year, the jobs he can get to go towards his apprenticeship are kind of, it's not consistent. So he's working a bit, he's not working, those kind of things. And personally, whether that was the case or not, I probably would not encourage him. And I don't mean to slight anybody. I probably wouldn't encourage him. As a younger person, I just think that, especially the path he has going, I think that he would have a much more consistent lifestyle not being in trucking, especially with that electrician occupation to kind of fall back on. Or not fall back on, but just be in his job. If he was able to do it right, and had this been a little bit earlier, I might say, you know what, do it, run up some money, and then get out and do what you want to do. But I just look at some of the stuff I've done, and I'm just not sure I would have been able to do it driving trucks. To me, if I didn't have everything or most everything laid out beforehand, I probably would not think trucking was a good idea. And that'd be marriage, financial shit, all those things. But I think I wouldn't suggest it for him at his age. But if you have goals and stuff like that, and you're actually, the worst thing is to be young and waste a bunch of time chasing a bunch of material shit driving trucks. That's what I don't want him to fall into. I don't know if that answered the question quite right, but that's kind of my thoughts on that. Next one is, why do I like non-name brand truck stops as opposed to name brand truck stops? This goes back to when I was back on my, when I started out on my own. Even though I spent a lot of time in training, your traditional truck stops, Love's, Flying J, Pilot, TA, Petro, they were a little intimidating to me as far as parking and all those kind of things. And which is odd, because a lot of people say they don't choose mom and pop or non-name brand truck stops because they're worried about the parking. Well, that's kind of what got me through when I first got out on my own. And a lot of it was, parking at night and things like that. A lot of times I found those places a little bit more reliable. And as I became better at backing, and backing wasn't an issue, the love that I got from those smaller places, whether it's diversity. I mean, going to a Love's, every fucking Love's is the same. Same shit in the same place. You know, all that kind of stuff. Pilot and Flying J, maybe not as much. TA and Petro, you know, they might have a little bit more diversity. And I've been speaking with other people about this. The best Flying J's or the best TAs and Petros are always going to beat out the best pilots, Flying J's, and Loves. It's just they're not always as consistent. You could have a horrible TA Petro, but then again, those ones that are those ones that are the good ones, you can't touch. So that's kind of how I got hooked on non-name brand truck stops. Like this place here, I've been here before. You know, like I said, there's a Love's right across the way, but you know, this has mainly the people that come here are local people. So it's kind of based around those. And as far as the parking goes, we got probably 30 spots out here. But the diversity in here and what you can get and buy and all those kind of things is just much greater. I just love smaller places. I don't know. It came from my fear of backing. All right, so, or not fear, but you know, like I said, I run a lot of nights, or I'd be stopping at night, and sometimes the spot that you get at one of those name brand places might be that one spot. And to be honest with you, sometimes I just wasn't comfortable hitting that one spot. So anyway, it took a while. It didn't take that long, but in that time, my appreciation for these places grew. How long? Okay, this kind of goes along with it. How long did it take for me to get comfortable backing? You know, I think backing is kind of one of those never-ending endeavors. I don't think about backing anymore. I don't pull up like satellite views of where I'm going or anything like that. I would probably say comfortable backing. It might have taken 6 months of me being on my own to where it wasn't that, where I felt like I could get into any spot, but maybe I didn't have my concepts down and things like that. It's really hard to say. At this point, I'd probably have to say it took 6 months. But, you know, I put in that work, you know. So for somebody that didn't spend as long in training, maybe it might take longer, maybe it might take less. You know, I'd mentioned it in a video before that I got embarrassed so bad at a few places when I first went out on my own that I said, this is never happening again. And I just actually put in that work to, you know, learn to back. So if I was dropping off at a Walmart, DC, or something like that, I wouldn't just back it in once. I'd back it in, drive around, come back around, back it in again. Tandems, well, maybe not at Walmart, because tandems in the rear at Walmart's probably the best way to go because they're kind of closer together. But if I had those opportunities, I would just kind of practice. Okay, what do I think about Prime's new hopper division? I really don't have any opinion as far as the hopper division goes. I don't know much about it, and it's not going to affect me, so I really don't care, to be honest with you. And to wrap this up, my last one is, am I training? And I spoke with, you know, I've kind of thought about this a while. You know, I think TNT training matches me best as far as my personality. But I think PSD training, and this is at Prime, so if you're hearing this and you're not at Prime, might actually be better in terms of miles on my truck, actually being able to spend a little bit more time and those things. So do I plan on training, or whatever that question was? Possibly, but I'm not 100% sure on that. If I do, It probably won't be the over the road training, but it might be to get your CDL. I just need to think about that a little bit more. I'm not 100% sure on that. So anyway, those are the questions that I had. I did speak about the DOT officer that I put to work, and he did great work. I am glad. You know, I met him by accident, and it was when, I don't know if anybody knows about this company, Angie's List, but he was kind of sent to me as I can't even explain it. So I went through Angie's List trying to find somebody, and it's kind of a referral service for home improvement companies, things like that. There was a guy that was supposed to show up at my house. He didn't show up, so he was kind of a fallback to that. So he ended up coming over, you know, ended up doing the work. Anyway, it was a great experience. But come to think about it, he's into barbecue and stuff too. I gave him a bunch of food or a bunch of stuff to barbecue back in the days, and now I'm sitting at home with all these smokers and grills and stuff. I might look at passing some of that stuff off to him, because when I was just looking at his Facebook page, he was out there cooking a tomahawk steak. So I might see if he wants to come over and grab one of those. And you know what? Maybe I can get an interview with him, see what he felt about being a DOT officer, and kind of go from there. I don't know. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Truck and Transportation. I did stretch this video out like Thanksgiving turkey, and for that I apologize. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.